So hello, everybody. Good to see you all back to our job search club. I'm Liz. If I haven't met you, I think I've met almost everybody here, but I'm thrilled to have you. So we do these gatherings every other week to bring in some expertise from the outside real world to tell us what's happening out there. And sometimes we just group therapy things with just us. And today we're going to do a combo of both of those things. So I have invited in Matt Reisner, who I don't even remember if I found you or you found me, but I'm thrilled that we found each other. So Matt is building out a recruiting firm specifically focused on events and hospitality. And so he's got a really unique perspective on the jobs that are coming through to him, and then how to go out and find people for these jobs. So, what we're going to talk about with him today is really how to make sure that your LinkedIn is set up so recruiters can find you and not just having everything that you've ever done on your LinkedIn. And then we're going to bring in Marc LeDuc, who has been hanging out with us for a little while in the Job Seeker Club, and he's going to help us workshop how to answer that horribly terrifying question. So tell me about yourself. And the correct answer is not, well, I'm a mom of two kids and I have a dog. And so we're going to work through some of that today. So, Matt, I'm going to pull you up on the screen here, and you tell me if you want to workshop this or if we should fireside chat it to start.
We can sort of fireside
Okay.
chat it. I have some stuff written out to kind of go through that I'll probably end up just spouting out. All of us, if you ever talk to a recruiter, but most of us like to talk a lot and kind of have to be told to stop in order for the other person to get in a word. So we can kind of just start from there. I really have a kind of a sheet I built out that's more how to make your LinkedIn more findable to recruiters. Just as simple as that, right? The do's and the don'ts, because there's plenty of those as well,
Mhm.
um, to kind of go through. So I can hop in. I
Let's do
can,
it.
yeah,
But
just
first,
go
tell us
in.
a little bit about the company.
Good. So yeah, the past 5 years or so, I was the AVP of events and media for a recruitment agency out of the UK. Built out the entire events desk here in the US back in September. I left, and a business partner and I, we launched Candor Talent, Candr. Our website's under construction, so if you go there, don't tell me what you think about it. It's not great, but it's on its way. It will be great. And we've been doing plenty of work within this space. We're officially launching at the end of next month. But yeah, we focus mostly on the corporate conference and trade show space. Think Informa, Reed, Emerald, companies like that. Hospitality is a division that we're going to build out, but there's only two of us at this time and plenty of jobs to work on. So those things will come in time. I know a lot of people in this group are hospitality, experiential, marketing. So maybe exactly what I do in terms of my clients don't apply to every single person, but these tactics and the things that we're going to run through in terms of LinkedIn and resumes should apply to everyone when it
Great.
comes to events. So yeah.
I think that's fabulous.
Good. Awesome. So first thing that's super important, the algorithm in LinkedIn, right? It reads keywords. It doesn't read vibes. It doesn't read, all those things that you talk about. I'm a mom of this. I'm a dog lover. Those are all great things about who we are. We all have personal things about us that we want to share with people. But when it comes down to recruiters and hiring managers finding you on LinkedIn, we use in our recruiter, search licenses through LinkedIn what's called a Boolean string, which is basically keywords, right? It goes, we can put events and operations and B2B and direct, or we can put or. It kind of works as you put a word in quotations, and you put and or in between the next one. And that's what helps filter our searches based on what people have in their headlines, their about sections, their experience bullet points, and their skills sections. So it's super, super important to have those industry specific, role specific keywords in your profiles if you don't have it already. Um, Make sure that that language also matches, the language that us recruiters are using, to find people. So I know that there's a lot of extroverts in the event space, right? And people love event ninja and
Mm,
conference guru. It's not helping you at all.
mm,
It's not, I'm not searching for an event ninja. I'm searching
mm.
for a director of operations. Or I wish there was an event ninja tab, right? Or a client came to me and exactly, Mark,
Mark.
for, Kung Fu Panda type vibes. But the algorithm will never match your search if you're putting
Mm,
words like that as your titles.
Yeah.
It's
And I have
fun.
so many people that they keep calling themselves, well, I'm an event unicorn. I can do it all. And I'm like, no,
Yep.
stop it.
I've never had a client come to me and say, we want an event. Okay, they do say that, but not by title. They say they want a one of a kind, but not by title. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're keeping things clear and concise, not cute. You know what I mean? And it's fun to be cute. It's fun to be, and especially in this industry. Like I said, we're all extroverts. We like to be around people. Human connection is the idea behind the industry. It's the idea behind recruitment. So it's super important in that aspect, but they should be clear and not cute. You know what I mean? The creating exceptional experiences that bring people together. That's fun, but it's very vague. It's very, very vague. You want to be specific. And that kind of comes down to, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. It's tough to search for just like a generalist, right? You know, there's kind of four categories when it comes at least to the corporate conference and trade show side: sales, marketing, operations, production. You kind of need to fill into one of those funnels, right? And it's hard because a lot of people are those jack of all trades, especially in events, right? I can do anything, but it really having the correct titles in there, it helps with level, function, scope, skills. It really helps me tell exactly what you do within the 6 seconds that I'm probably glancing at your LinkedIn if I'm not clicking into it to dig more. So
Okay.
those are the attention grabbers. Some people think that being cute and creative is going to grab the attention of a recruiter who is going through 2,000 resumes a week, and is working on 17 different jobs at a time. Not the case. It needs to be a little bit more straight to the point. And especially when it comes to actually the information, sizes of the events, attendee count, budgets, especially if you're on like the operational side of things, the events a year, revenue responsibility, P&L, team size, the numbers matter. They
Hmm.
matter a lot. Other than, I work 3 trade shows a year. Okay. What trade shows? So get specific. Talk about the industries you work in. Talk about the shows that you work in. And I know that it's not that easy. Sometimes people have confidential clients and things, but you know, the, that makes it really hard for someone to find you.
Right.
So I'll take
But even
a
if the client was confidential, you can still say, executed a 20 by 20 booth at a trade show with over 15,000 participants. My
in the
role
medical device
was,
space. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So the specifics really do count. And the more you have these words and these things put in there, the easier it's going to be for you to come up in these Boolean searches, as they're called. So,
So
um,
there's a question in the chat about if the role was content creation, that it's such a big role. It could be social media, it could be keynote, it could be building slides. Like how specific do you get with something like that? How you describe it?
I mean, it's tricky sometimes. It really is, and that's why there's kind of these base rules that I'm talking about. But it is flexible on a lot of different areas of it. But that would fit in the corporate conference and trade show space. That would fit under production,
Okay.
because content fits into building out agendas, sourcing speakers, all of that fits in the production space, which I know is completely different from the experiential space. If
Hmm.
you're an event producer here, it's not going to be the same as a conference, production person on the corporate side. So again, this is more tailored to exactly where I recruit into and where I have, but it is different.
And if you don't have any metrics, maybe your role was purely logistics and you didn't have anything to do with pipeline revenue or anything else. What kind of metrics are important? Is it just like got attendee metrics and more project specific?
Yeah, I think that would be it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so managed 32 speakers, managed like those types of
Right.
things.
100%, because I mean that, every time you put that word speaker, you put, whatever it is and the details that become searchable now within LinkedIn, within my internal CRMs, recruiters' internal CRMs, where we have a database. Think of it as a Salesforce for candidates, right? And we
Mhm.
do our internal searches, and I absolutely will put speaker in there or whatever it may be, depending. And looking back on the chat, content creation also fits in marketing as well, 100%. Somebody answered that. It's yeah, it fits within both. It just kind of depends on the space, right?
Okay. And then do
Um,
you add this info under each job line in LinkedIn? You put it in your about section because you said all of these are searchable.
Yeah, I would put it in as many places as possible without it looking obnoxious. Yeah, and looking like you're just repeating the same thing. And then there's a way to creatively add them in. You know what I mean? Without saying the same sentence, for your headline, for your about me, for each of your job description bullet points, not job description, but the description of what you've done at each job.
Hmm.
Um, you just got to get a little bit creative with it.
Okay. And
But
so
those
if
words
you're,
need to
let's
be in
say your background was kind of administrative assistant in the back, and then you kind of went into a logistics conference management role. You did that for a while, and now you've primarily been focused on the logistics of things. And so you're willing, ready, and able to try something new. Should you be trying to try something new at this point, or should you be leaning back on the history that you have and just finding a role?
I think leaning back on the history is big, but sometimes we make career pivots, right?
Hmm.
And that's where it gets tricky, right? And having to try to explain exactly who you are, what you're doing, what you're looking for, why your skills are transferable. That's hard. You
Hard right
can't
now.
put
Hmm.
all of it in a resume.
Yeah.
You can try, and there's certainly ways to do it and format it, um, but it's tough, and I don't think there's like a real concrete answer to that. It's more about on my end grabbing the attention of the recruiter. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And getting a phone call, right? And
Mhm.
just getting someone's attention. I think that's the main thing. We're going to miss some. We're not perfect, right? Um, and also, when you apply for a job, figure out if you have a mutual connection there. Find the hiring manager. A lot of times, LinkedIn will put that and send them a message. Don't send them some War and Peace type thing. Just say, hey, I applied for this role. I worked for X, Y, and Z. This is why I think my experience is applicable. I'd love to have a chat. Then just keep it simple because we get hundreds of those a week, right?
Mm,
The ones that are War and Peace, I'm not going to read it. I'm sorry. It's just there's only so much time in a day, right?
yeah.
Um,
When it
mm,
comes to the actual resume, there's a question here about
yeah,
what's better right now, functional or chronological?
chronological.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
always say chronological. That's what I like to look at. It really helps. What are you doing now? What have you done in the past?
Okay.
Yeah.
And do we have to keep it to one page or can they be 2 pages?
No, I think two is good. Two is good, especially when you're talking about someone who might have 30 years in the space. You know how tough it is to fit that into one page? It's tough to fit it into two.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't go over two. If you really feel like you need to stretch it more than that, then you're probably putting too much in there.
Mm,
You really are. You're just trying to fill in space, and there's different kind of layouts you can use, like changing the margins and stuff to fit more stuff in little space, but then it looks jumbled,
yeah.
right?
Let's
So
talk about that 30 years of experience. Do you put that in the resume or are now you too old to be hired?
ageism exists. It does. It sucks, but it
Hmm.
does. Hiring managers will look at it and say, nope. Yeah, and it goes the other way too. Someone could have 5 years, but really good 5 years, but you know, they've been told they need 10 years plus. So blah blah.
Hmm.
So I would put it there, but there's a way to sort of break it down as well. Put your past 3 or 4 roles and break those down. And then at the bottom, you can put the positions, but don't put all the bullet points under it. And
Does
that's
it
a little
matter that you list every place you've ever worked? Like my first
no.
job was in 1999. Maybe I don't even want to mention that one. Can I
Nope.
just stop?
Yes, you can absolutely use your best discretion and sort of judgment on how far to go back. If you've been working since, you know, the year I was born, 92, right? I don't think all 33 years of experience could be very relevant, but I wouldn't, waste time and waste the precious space on that resume that you've got 2 pages essentially to
Hmm.
explain it all. I wouldn't waste it, talking about something you did 30 years ago.
Hmm. Okay.
You can mention it. You can mention it in the bullet point, but if your first job was at Subway making sandwiches, don't put sandwich artist on there and talk about how many Italian nightclubs you made. It's not relevant.
Yeah.
So that's another piece. Keep it relevant.
Mm.
Keep it relevant.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So if you took a little career side turn, then you don't have to include that one. And then but then may come up as a gap, right? Is that
see
something?
that's the other thing too. And there's not a short answer to that, to where, is it better to leave a 5 year gap or to explain that I did
Hmm.
something else? I think an important part is tying that something else back to what you're doing, even if it was completely different. You still might be working with stakeholders. You could be
Hmm.
doing admin work. You could have some logistical components to the role that do tie back. So it's kind of about tying it together. And that all also goes back to the, jack of all trades, master of none type thing where it's kind of hard if you have bounced around and done other things to get noticed for a specific position.
Yeah.
Um,
I like this question. Where do you include the title of the role you're going for? Do you put that in like your LinkedIn, like the subject or that little header line thing under your name?
so let me think about that one. So a lot of people I don't see a ton of people putting that on their actual LinkedIn. And I mean, if you're unemployed, it's a different thing, right? If you're purely your whole job is a job search right now,
Hmm.
sure, absolutely, you can put that there in terms, you know,
Seeking a director level position, blah, blah, blah.
operation,
Yeah.
absolutely. Operations professional with 20 years of experience seeking director level, something like that. Yeah, it's worth mentioning, but again, there's the other parts of, if you're gainfully employed and you're looking outside of what you're doing
Sure.
now and being careful what you're putting there. From what I understand, if you put open to work, LinkedIn blocks anyone from within your organization from seeing that banner.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I understand. But also, they could just have their partner or their friend or
Mm,
whoever look at that. So I would be careful about that
okay.
if you are looking after, and already having a position. I'm
Okay.
trying to keep up with the chat too.
Yeah, and I'm pulling them out. So there's one, is there a reference place where we could cross-check to make sure we have the correct and current keywords? Is that something where ChatGPT could actually come in?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. But you know,
Or
I
Claude.
think
Claude seems better.
yeah, I use Copilot because I have a Microsoft computer, so it's built in and it's fine. It all kind of gathers information from the same places. It's just kind of
Hmm.
how it regurgitates it. That's really the difference of each of them. In my mind, anyways, we all have different experiences. But yeah, and again, I think it's important to whatever those keywords are, um, make sure they're mentioned multiple times throughout the resume.
Okay. Um,
Technology does fail sometimes, right?
yeah.
So
Mark, your question on how important is the professional summary, are you referring to the resume or on LinkedIn?
it could be a question for
Both.
Both.
both. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it's very important, but I don't think it is a place to necessarily say, "Hey, my name is Bill. I worked at Informa for 10 years. I did this, that, and that." Some people try to explain their whole resume within that section, but that's what the bullet points are for, right? And then you just become a little bit repetitive. And I know I've told you to repeat words, but you can do that without repeating all of the content. Um, but keep it short and sweet. It doesn't need to be, 17, sentence paragraph telling your entire story. It again needs to be pretty straight and to the point. I think it is important, but not important to put a ton of stuff into it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the big question that we get a lot. So the LinkedIn profile must match your resume, which is completely stupid because you're tailoring your resume for every single freaking job you apply for. So how in the world do you keep them aligned?
$1 million question, isn't it?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have dynamic LinkedIn. So based on the link I sent you, it will change the
Yeah.
way that you see when you log into LinkedIn to see me.
I I think it's really frustrating when I get somebody's resume and then I go look at their LinkedIn and it's completely different.
Hmm.
I understand tailoring your resume, but you can't necessarily tailor your experience because you can't. You worked one place and you did it, and it's broken down from there. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That truly is. I personally like the resume to reflect the LinkedIn, but it could be a recruiter by recruiter basis. And again, when you're looking for a job and you're wanting to tailor things, it does get tough.
Mm.
Um, but I would suggest if you're doing that, you do have a general resume that you would have that you might send out to something that's not so tailored. And if you're working with a recruiter, that person has that resume.
Hmm.
So it's tough, especially in the world of AI, right? And everything being tech. A lot of these companies do use these AI models to search through all of their applicants and don't look at every applicant. So it's tough. It's not how we work. It's not how I work. Um, but it is how companies work, and it's just the reality of talent acquisition and recruitment moving forward. And it will always be the reality nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, trying to get a computer to do a human's job. It's
Yeah.
tricky, a slippery slope.
Yeah.
So I don't
But
know if
but it's interesting
I
though, if you
answered
think
it
about it
well.
from the recruiter standpoint and just understanding just that basic knowledge of recruiter has a job that they are being compensated to fill. They take that job, they look for the keywords by putting it into the recruiter side of LinkedIn, and it's going to pull up the top candidates that match, and those are the first ones the recruiters are going to go to. So even that process alone makes you go, okay, how do I make sure that my keywords are the ones that are going to come up for exactly what I want?
Yeah, and that's a very simple way of putting it, but
But
it is
from yeah, from a job seeker standpoint of how to think about it, because generally we think about, oh, I just need to list what I did, explain all the metrics, show how much pipeline and revenue I drove, and you're not thinking about a keyword search. You're thinking about looking good on LinkedIn, which is a very different approach than what you're doing day to day trying to fill 9,000 positions.
yeah, yeah. The next one is what's the difference between about on LinkedIn and professional summary? I, in my mind, I don't think there is much of a difference. I think you could put the same thing for both.
Mm,
So yeah, then I guess that's a bit of a simple answer, but um, unless professional summary is where some people word it to where professional summary is where you start to break down your roles as well. So yeah. Um, Open to work settings. I was going to get to that. That's kind of a little bit of a secret weapon in a way because a lot of people just don't do it. But it lets you specify job titles, locations, work types, and that will increase your discoverability, right? So make sure that you're utilizing every little one of those things. When you go to click open to work, it does let you put parameters and things in there.
oh, that's cool.
It should, anyways. It's supposed to. So yeah, that's an important thing. We talked through this, talked through that, the vertical specifics and domain experience. If you're in a leadership position, number of direct reports, the cross-functional, leadership that you've worked through as well, relationships that you've managed with vendors or with agencies, that's important because some roles call for that. More than others, right? So all that stuff is important. P&L responsibility is huge as well. They want to know that you can scale to what their position is asking for.
Mm.
Um, some, let's see, some pretty green flags, right? Some things that are good are, growth trajectory, logical growth trajectory, maybe not going from coordinator to a CEO, because then, what happened in between? Titles that sort of escalate with time, that's good, and responsibilities that expand, just to kind of show that you're growing in your
Hmm.
career. And I'm kind of just firing off things
Hmm.
now until there's more questions. But um, one thing as well, going back to the AI, it's a really good starting point, but it's not a great final product. And I hope that we all know that. If you have I think they're called M dashes, right? Big long dashes that connect all of your words. I'm going to look at it and say, you didn't even have you didn't even take the effort to take those out. It was straight from GPT
Yep.
or from wherever.
Yeah.
And we see through it. We're
Yeah.
not
Well, the other
smart.
thing, the problem I see, so many resumes that I get sent, they're just the AI genericizes them. And so, like, all those specifics get taken out, and the sentences that are being used are so useless when it comes to understanding what your actual job was. So I think that's my
Right.
big frustration.
Yeah. And I heard this phrase a couple months ago and I stole it and I like to use it. When your resume becomes so generic, it could be anyone's, it actually becomes no one's.
Mhm.
So, and I'm telling you not to get too specific on things, but I'm also telling you not to get too generic on things. So I don't have the answers for all of it, right? But just this is all just speaking from experience. Some common issues are, just vague, inflated corporate speak. Um, worked
Works
cross-functionally
cross-functionally in a
with
matrixed organization.
stakeholders. Okay, exactly. Right. Explain what that means. You know what I mean?
I had seven bosses on one project. That's what that means.
See, yeah, okay, maybe don't put that. There's a balancing act. There's a tight line. Bullets with no metrics. I did this and that. Well, break down exactly what you did. Like I said, in terms of like event specifics. I managed a team of 12 on a $3.5 million event across this industry. It's
Mhm.
important to put the stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um,
I think one of the ones we've talked about on this call a few times is that whole pipeline and revenue thing, because there's a lot of people that are putting that on their resumes, drove $1.3 million in pipeline, blah, blah, blah. And my question is always, but did you? Or did you create the environment that allowed the sales team to drive $1.35 million in pipeline and revenue?
yeah.
Because you don't want to get yourself into a trap where now all of a sudden you're responsible for a quota if your job was logistics.
Right, and I see that with marketing people a lot. Is they put, responsible for $3.2 million worth of growth on this event over a couple of years. Again, were you, or were you part of a team that was responsible for that? It's
Mm,
important to say that. And if there's any sales folks on here, do mention your metrics,
yeah.
mention KPIs, mention how much you brought in, or mention what percent of goal to target that was. That is super important. I don't know if there's any sales folks on here, but I do a lot of stuff for sponsorship and exhibit, and not so much on delegate sales, but for conferences and trade shows. If someone doesn't have any numbers in their resume, I'm probably not going to reach out because that means they have, I don't know, it means they might have something to hide. Um,
Mm,
be honest about it. Everybody who's hiring salespeople, they want good salespeople, not people that flub numbers or whatever it may be. And that's tough too, because you could have some tough years in sales and you don't necessarily want to put that,
yeah.
whatever. So again, these are all just kind of advice, but it doesn't work for every single situation. Some
So
other, yeah,
before
go
we
ahead.
get to Kit's question there, also the question of when you have been laid off, what is the proper answer to that question of, I mean, if someone's really ridiculously digging into why, do you have to even answer that?
No, you don't. You don't have to answer. I guess anything. It's tough. Some people are laid off because they're at the bottom of the barrel in terms of like performance for the team. A layoff doesn't necessarily mean the whole company restructured and got rid of an entire unit. It could just be a couple people, or it could be that one event in the portfolio is down, so they had to do whatever. I think it's important to be honest. Most hiring managers and most recruiters will appreciate that more than telling a lie or trying to kind of cover something up. It's tough. Again, another tough one because layoffs do happen.
Mhm.
Things do happen. Restructures happen. So, um, yeah, hope that was a helpful answer for that one.
Yeah, I mean, that would it's tricky because it's like it's to me it's an unnecessary question to even be asked. Like, why were you laid off? Well, because the company did bad, not me. Like,
Agreed.
that's,
And
so
some of that stuff, depending on, it's all situational, depending on what that is. You can't put it in your resume. You can put beside the job title was laid off due to company downsizing or
mm,
whatever it may be, and that should be enough. But some people do like to dig into
mm.
that stuff. So I think if that does happen and someone is trying to uncover things, I mean, being honest about it is always the best policy, especially in my space, because my industry, like the conference and trade show space, because everybody knows everybody, right? A lie can certainly spin into something else and hurt your chances of
True.
getting a job.
Okay.
Um, so yeah,
And I think many of us are seeing roles out there that are ridiculously stupid as far as they are all encompassing event rock star from strategy to execution. You are the team of one that's supposed to be doing absolutely everything, and then the salary is like 80K. So, like, at what point can you really push on you're hiring a senior director of event strategy that's actually going to execute and you're paying a third of what that person should be making? Like, can you, is it even possible to have a reality check with them?
yeah, it kind of is. They want to get someone who can do everything and give them nothing. That's a lot of companies. That's the corporate world. I don't think there's much way around that. Introducing yourself and having a conversation and being upfront about salary expectations, that's big. And sometimes they do post it out a little at 80K, but their budget's more than that, right? Because if you know what event they're working on or whatever it may be. So I don't think there's any way around that. Companies will forever try to do that, try to get someone to do the most work for the littlest amount of money.
So then should you not dismiss the ones that have a low salary? Should you go in and just start the conversation around there?
I don't think it hurts, especially if you're, super active on the job market and you're maybe unemployed and that's your full-time job right now is finding a job. I don't think connecting with people that post the job or leaders at the company. And you can always be super transparent if you're sending out a message. Hey, I saw this role. It fits the scope of what I've done, but this is actually what I'm looking for. I was wondering if there's any flexibility in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to kind of hit that head on. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Um,
Yeah, you don't want to
we
waste
can,
anyone's time, but you also want to push back a little.
and yeah, yeah, exactly. And you don't want to get to the point to where you've went through four, five, six, God forbid, seven, eight, nine interview processes, and you get to the point and they lowball you an offer. Always be
Mm,
transparent.
yeah.
Always be transparent about what you're looking for. It just makes it easier from a recruitment standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you,
Um,
Matt. This was amazing.
yeah. Okay. We out of time?
I think so. And then any other questions? We'll open it up to everybody. And then we can do our about me conversation. All
I
right.
just had a quick
Yeah.
question. I have I emailed a couple recruiters and they each maybe sent me like one or two jobs that weren't the right fit. Um, and then I followed up and they haven't responded. I'm wondering, how do you maintain a relationship with a recruiter so that you're like top of mind for them?
There's a lot of bad recruiters out there who ghost candidates if they're not a fit. It's tough, and it's tough on the recruiter side too because when you're working with so many candidates at a time, there's only so much time in a day, and a lot of us do our best to respond to everyone, to respond to if we have a job posted, every person who applied, telling them that they're not the fit if we filled it. I don't know if there's a pure answer to that. I mean, be kind in your follow-ups. Don't say, "Hey, you, why aren't you answering me?" Right? But also, you got to know when the point is to where you feel like someone's just ignoring you. And it is tough as a recruiter, right? If there's a ton of stuff, but it's super tough as a candidate too when you're looking for a job. So there's a balance. I think, continuing to follow up, but being kind about it, and then hoping they get back to you. I know that's not very good advice, to be completely honest. I know that wasn't helpful. It's just a hard answer for a hard
Yeah.
question, and some
Yeah.
things
It's tough.
are. And
I
job
think
search,
that because I had the opportunity to be a technical recruiter for about 6 months because I went into it thinking, oh my God, I'm going to find so many people jobs. It's going to be the most amazing thing I've ever done in my life. And then I got in and realized that it's not about finding people jobs. It's about finding people for jobs. And so you do have 70 candidates for every one open position and usually none of those 70 actually fit it. So then you have to go find somebody that's going to fit it. And so it's
yeah, and
really
yeah,
tough on you.
yeah, when you're in a niche space too, it makes it even harder. But I kind of wanted to just round out like kind of my mic drop thought right before we move on to the other thing. The LinkedIn and resumes, they're not supposed to tell your entire life story. It's supposed to help someone like me sort of understand in, I don't know, 6 to 20 seconds, whether I should call you or whether you're a fit for a role that I have or whether you'd be relevant for me to even have an intro conversation with.
Mm,
Not that people aren't relevant, but you get what I'm saying. It's you don't need to put your entire life story on it. I know some people overfill their resume with stuff because they feel like they need to explain all of it. It should be something to open up the door for a conversation.
yeah.
Um, but again, a lot of this stuff, there's not a pure answer for it because searching for a job is pretty tough.
Yeah.
So
There's a
yeah.
question on how do you find a reputable recruiter? And I think there's a distinction between the people who are trying to have an open role and it's their job to fill it versus someone that you pay to represent you in the marketplace. And the candidate is paying that person to go find them a job. So figuring out who you're talking to, I think, is important too.
I personally would never advise anybody to give a recruiter money as a candidate. That might change in a case by case basis, but in my world of industry recruitment, the candidates don't pay the recruiter to like represent them because what are you doing? Are you going out on email blast and saying, "Hey, I've got this candidate," to
Hmm.
every company that you might want to work with, and then using that as a tool to get your term signed with a new client? It's a slippery slope. I mean, resume writers, sure, if someone's a professional at that, but just be weary of giving somebody money to take you out to market.
Hmm.
Be very careful on that one.
Okay.
Because it's just nothing, it's not something I've ever done. And any agency recruiters and or in-house recruiters that I know or in my network, we don't charge candidates. And just word of caution. Maybe
Okay.
some circumstances are different, but I've never actually seen it. I've just heard kind of horror stories about it. So
Okay.
be very careful.
Is it important to build out your thought leadership on LinkedIn too? Like writing articles and posting all the time and all that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to keep it's all about your brand, right? You're
Hmm.
building your brand as a person. As a recruiter, I have to do that too to make sure that I'm reputable in the space that I'm recruiting into.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that is very important within reason. Don't go spam people. Don't chat GPT 3 articles a day, right, and post them. But yeah, keeping yourself at top of mind and relevant in building your brand. Yeah, it's super important.
Okay. And then what about the image, that top header? So many people are just using whatever generic LinkedIn thing that's there. Should you actually take time to go in Canva and make something?
I think it's up to you. I don't look at it very much.
Okay.
Mine's the skyline of New York City. Can't be more generic, plain and boring than that. When I was at my other agency, we had one that all of us recruiters had to put up there.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I don't think that is that important.
Not a
Maybe
barrier to entry. Okay. But the
no,
photo, what about the your actual profile photo? That's important.
look professional. I know again, this goes back to the events industry, and we're all a little quirky, right? And we're extroverted. A lot of people are, maybe not all of us, but I think the line between having fun with it and keeping it professional needs to absolutely be there. A headshot and a suit, not necessarily, but make sure they can see your face clear. Make sure you're, smiling. There's a lot of people who have pictures that like they look
Mm-hmm.
like they're just, I don't know, whatever it may be. Just have it kind of reflect who you are as a person, and if you're going after a professional job within an organization, show up, come
Yeah.
correct, right? And it starts with that picture. That is kind of would you say, a barrier to entry.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of is what you look like, and like it or not, people judge people on what they look like. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's part of how our minds work, I
What
guess.
about this
So
trend of people putting ex Googler, ex AWS?
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I really do. Maybe it goes from recruiter to recruiter. I can't stand it. But again, that
Got
might
it.
be personal opinion. And sometimes people put 10 things in.
Ex-husband, Mark.
Yeah, sorry. Look, but if you were at Twitter for 4.5 months on a contract, put X Twitter. Come
Right.
on, let's be real. If you were the VP of production for 17 years, sure, put X Twitter. But again, case by case basis. I don't like it personally. It's not
Okay.
going to make me completely look over someone, but I might look down on you if I see it. I'm, I'm totally kidding. Again, case by case basis. So
Okay. Awesome.
yeah, I hope
Awesome.
all this was helpful. I know
This
there's
was
no
so
true
great.
answers to everything. It's tough. It
Yes.
is tough. Yeah, just always be a champion for yourself, right? And message people, network. It's great when someone sends me a message after applying for a job
Yeah.
because then they follow it up and also make sure if you are sending templates out in messages, take out the brackets, put your name, put the name of the
Mhm.
job. You would have no idea how many people send messages and don't even bother to change the your name
Oh
within
my
bracket
God.
or
That's crazy.
your job or your organization. So pay attention to the little stuff. Does
So we have 13 people on the call right now. Can they send you their resume so they can add it to your database?
please,
Excellent. So
please.
Matt is in our Slack channel, so you can go look him up and just DM him your resume, make sure it's in his database so he can
Yep.
find you if the perfect role comes up.
Yeah, and I'll look at it, I'll give feedback. I'll not every single person, in Club Ichi, right? But if there's
Right.
13 people on this
But this
call,
group that's here.
certainly have time for all of you guys. And let's just network in general. It's always fun just to talk to people. If anyone's in New York City or Jersey City, let's grab a drink. Let's talk shop and be part of Club Ichi. I'm new to this. I've never
Yeah.
met anyone in this group in person that I know of. So, let's be friends.
Yay. Thank you so much, Matt. Really appreciate
You're
you being
welcome.
here. And if you can stay on, we'd love to have you for this next part of the conversation. But if you have to go, totally get
I have a 2:45, so
it.
I've
Okay.
cut it very close. I'm
Nope, you're
EST.
all good.
But thank you guys for listening to me jabber on about things. If there are any additional questions, just shoot me a message in
Okay.
Slack. I'm here. I'm reachable. I won't ignore you like a lot of recruiters. So, um, Thank you all for listening to my
Thank
talk,
you.
whatever this was, and have a good rest of your
Stay
week.
warm. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Mark, hello.
Hello.
Oh boy, I'm excited for our workshop now. Okay, so the big scary question that no one ever really knows how to answer. Hi,
Yes.
Mark. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, there you go. I'm unemployed and looking for a job is not what one should probably say. Um, I'm just going to be totally transparent. I've been seeking a new position for 10 months now. So I am sharing my information with Liz. We've kind of been connecting. I probably more made more mistakes than successes in this. I have probably overthought this more than anyone else. I have spent endless hours trying to come up with that perfect tell me about yourself. I have gone through 1,000 YouTube videos. I've looked on LinkedIn posts. The joke is you ask two consultants and you'll get four answers. That's a great response about consultancies and things of that nature. So I approached Liz about this and I said, hey, can we just kind of workshop some thoughts around what does that, because it sets the tone for everything
Hmm.
in terms of an interview. And if you've had enough interviews as I've had, you realize that not everyone asks that question exactly the same. So for me, I've kind of put some, Liz, after you and I done talking today, I put kind of a framework in my head around this a little bit. And I call it, I like to fish. It's a solitary thing, fly fishing, regular fishing. I just like to fish. There's something about it that sits with my little Zen nature. So I kind of put it in this realm. I call it the bait, the cast, the hook, and then into the boat. And that's how I'm looking at this. The bait is creating that about me statement based on the research that you've done on the company and based on the job description. So that's the first thing. It's not just the job description, it's also about the company, looking for something that shows that you've done some research on that company. Because we've all made that failure of just looking at the job description, but not necessarily going back. Maybe there's a DEI initiative or something big for that company or something that you might have not known about. And you put a big foot in a landmine. I've
Hmm.
done that in interviews, like, oh, snap, that I can't take back. See, the other thing is cast is to look at, okay, statement about yourself is should be no, it says 2 minutes. I've got it down. If you can't figure out how to make this in 60 seconds, because you only have, in my mind, I'm already boring people already. I've talked too much, right? This is the truth. People's brains are like fish, right? Fish have longer retention spans than we do. So then the thing is the hook. How do you, now you've trolled the bait out? How do you get that person who's being interviewed, that's interviewing you? How do you hook them, not them hook you? Right. So that's the thing. And then ultimately, we've all, if anybody's ever done any fishing, you get, and at the very, very end, the fish spits the bait. So how do you get them into that final close and get them to the point where you can now work on going to that next phase of that interview process? That's all. That's all the 60 seconds that you have.
Hmm.
So the question is, how do you do that? And I don't have, like I said, I've been 10 months looking at this, so I don't exactly have the great answer for it. But can I share something on screen?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So give me a second here. Boom. All right. Hopefully I can figure out how to share this.
It's under more if it's not right at the bottom.
Okay. A window. Give me a second. Sorry, everyone. Um, okay. Let me know if that shows up. There we go. So is it still there? Good, great. Thank you so much. This is what I wrote about myself. Because one of the things that I was told, if you try you have to have, there's the thing. I've been 10 months without a job. What have I been doing with myself? That's always a
Hmm.
great question that I get asked. And the answer is looking for an effing job is not, the reality is that's what you've been doing. I've been doing it 6 hours a day,
Hmm.
and that's what I do. But you can't, so you have to. So for me, I've been kind of working on a consultancy. So that was one of the things that I've been trying to do, is to just put myself a shingle out there, going out to trade shows and trying to see if I can't drum up some business. So that also gave me an additional opportunity in my resume to promote certain things about my philosophy as a consultant. So that's where I came up with my idea of, currently I work with companies on blue ocean thinking to enhance audience engagement, financial performance, and programming excellence for professional associations or for profits. Prior to that, I was leading a team of 5 individuals, yada, yada. You can read all of that. And then I say, in both positions, I specialize in, this is the thing about, you've got the hook. How do you get them into the boat? Is I'm turning this, both positions are specializing in something that you're finding within the company that you think is going to help them remember. And then the very last thing is, so I'm looking forward to talking about how these experiences as a blah, 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 that's another hook to the company. So, for example, I just recently went to I had an interview with a company that does software for registrations and things like that. So I was a client of there previously. So I said, I look forward to taking my experience as a client of yours and see how those experiences can be directly transferable. So that's the research, the bait, the cast, the hook, and then hopefully that got them in the boat. Like, and that's 60 seconds. And I will tell you, the other thing is rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. I mean, go in the grocery store and just mumble to yourself, I currently work with da 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 da. So that it's just, because here's the thing for me, and then we can talk about it as a group. There are so many crazy Ivan things that happen in an interview. They don't sit there and say, tell me about yourself. They go, hey, what interested you in the position? And all of a sudden, that whole memorization of tell me about yourself doesn't happen at first. It happens second. So then you have to pivot to that. So that's where the rehearsal for me. These are experiences that I've had, that rehearsal. So that's what I talked to Liz about. This is kind of my philosophy around it. I was hoping that others had thoughts on that sort of philosophy of rehearse, get it down to 60 seconds. Because again, it's a soundbite to just get you into the conversation that they write down with some, hey, this guy looked at our company website. This guy understands our culture. This, and this.
I would love to throw people in breakout rooms and have everybody practice. Are you guys up for that? Okay, so
Uh,
those of you that are not on camera that I can't see, I'm going to open breakout rooms and put people in them. And if you end up in a room with somebody who's like not there, just come back out. I'll be here in the main room and I can reassign you to another one. But Mark, do you want to have everybody just try that with each other real quick?
well, before we do that, I love it. I love your energy. You and I get along really well. I'd like to talk about, does anyone else have experiences like this? How does selling yourself feel to folks? And are they having good experiences with this? Tell me about yourself. And are people rehearsing? Because I find that most people get very, very nervous when they do an interview. And if they're not rehearsing, then it's almost like an athlete, right? You practice for perfection. You don't, an amateur, what is it? A professional practices to never get it wrong. An amateur practices to get it right. And there's
Mm.
a huge difference in that philosophy. So I'm wondering, this is again, everybody can unmute and we can talk about how I just came out with my statement. How are people seeing that? What experiences are people having?
Here, I'll stop your sharing so we can see everybody. All right, how are you answering it? How's it going for everybody? Bryant, you just got off an interview this morning, right?
Yeah, we got off one, got
Did you
another
get this
one
question?
in 1 o'clock. These are all with the recruiters today, and
Hmm.
then hiring managers later this week. Um, the hardest part for me in our industry is that when you look at it, LinkedIn profiles and everything, people, want to toot their own horns and say award winning and all these things. And for myself, that was never my mentality. I was coming here to one, do a good job, enjoy what I'm doing, and enhance whatever I'm doing. But to talk and gloat about yourself, it's a harder thing to do. Having other people do it for you is great, but trying to build yourself up, I'm able to talk about the things I've done, but I'm not. But it's and kind of more the soft skills around it, saying, "Hey, this is how I operate. This is what I like to do. How I like to communicate and work with you to get this job done." Say, I built this exceptional program, and it's harder than I thought in kind of doing that. So it's still the practice. And also too, is as you're talking with different companies, are they looking for that experiential or are they looking for that more metrics driven saying, hey, I did this, but then these are the results that I'm pulling. So to know with your hiring manager, what is that you're looking for? So you don't slip up and just say this, because that one build doesn't work for everybody you're talking with.
Yeah.
It's some of the struggles I go through.
So I would throw in there because it's great, Brian, because I've had this similar thing. My analysis is I've really had to work hard on this. Is it's like a plane crash. You put your oxygen mask on yourself first before you can help others. So you have got to, in order to get advocacy, you have got to be able to come up with a statement that isn't arrogant. It's it has a certain gravitas in it because if you don't sell you,
Nobody else will sell you. Yeah.
nobody else is going to sell you. Because again, I deal with this thing like I got 150 people that I'm interviewing for this position, rightly or wrongly. So what is it that you're going to say in your opening that somebody's going to remember just to get to the other parts that you want? I take huge amounts of notes. You want to have a figure out a way in that opening
Right.
that they sit there and say, oh, in the note,
Yeah, that makes
there's
sense.
somebody right here. Because again, a lot of us are, we're not the face of the conference. We're behind the scenes. We're all of the nuts and bolts of it. I'm in a little different role. I'm a conference creator, a content creator. So I go on stage and I moderate panels and I find for me, I'm a little more out front, but for the most part, all of these other things, uh, that's my thought to you
Thank
is
you. Of
that you got to be able to sell yourself in 30 seconds or 60
course.
seconds.
Yeah. I got my notes down. Thank you, Mark.
Oh no. I was like, what was it? Not Steve Jobs, but who was the other one? No, it was Steve Jobs that nobody would ride in an elevator with him because if they couldn't justify their job in an elevator ride with him, he had this reputation for firing people when they got out of the elevator.
Steve
Whoa.
Jobs.
Holy
Wow.
cow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he was a nice guy.
Yeah. Krista, you had a
Wow.
question? Crystal, I'm sorry.
Well, it was just you were asking, did anybody have that similar experience? And I would say yes. I found that because I've been searching for a while as well, I would get really nervous during the interviews because it's the same scenario. You have this intro that you've crafted and recrafted and recrafted and memorized, and it's exactly what you said, to where the question isn't necessarily asked. I have found that people aren't necessarily saying, tell me about yourself, because it also depends on where you are at the stage of the interview, if you're
Sure.
with a recruiter, if you're with a hiring manager, what is the scenario? So it would completely throw me off. And what I found was, in addition to practicing, was I changed, it was a mind shift that I had, and I started looking at this, especially since I have a marketing background, is what's my story? How am I telling the story about myself? Uh, and I also shifted the perspective and instead of trying to have these bullet points of what it is that I do really well, my story shifted in how I'm going to help you. So just like you, I go to the website, kind of look at what are the key things, make sure I incorporate that. But what is the biggest thing that I can tell them on how I'm going to benefit them? And that's and then I also try to incorporate my passion and then something personal. I like to incorporate something personal and my passion into that, and I keep it really succinct. So I some really tight metrics. What's my story? How am I helping them? And where is the passion? And I craft that into a story. And then it's more authentic because I'm telling my personal story through passion, and it's metrics that I already know. And if I tie it to how I can help them based on my research, then it's something that I know. Then I'm not um is someone in events, I'm always behind the scene, so being in front of the camera is not necessarily something that I like to do. So that's why the nerves were getting me. Once I relaxed and started thinking about telling my story, that's helped a lot.
Yeah, I think Matt was like completely wrong saying our industry is extroverted. I think the majority of our industry is introverted.
Yeah.
None of us like to be in front of the camera or in front of on the stage. We are the people in the back making sure it all runs perfectly. And
Yeah.
then few of us have gotten used to being in front of it, and so now we're there, but it doesn't mean that we like gravitate toward the spotlight, all of us. And so yeah, you get put on the spot here. It's like, ah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found helpful in figuring out what to say? I go back to past reviews I've had with bosses, and the things that they said were unique about me. They valued it, so I assume if I can weave it in, I do. Does that
So I
make
shouldn't
sense?
bring up the one where my boss told me I smiled too much and it made me look incompetent.
Probably not.
Okay, I won't bring that one up.
But,
Whoa.
one
It's
of
true.
the
That was real feedback. I ignored her.
I had a
That's
boss
crazy.
who said, you're the most creative problem solver I've ever met. So
Mm,
that's something I
goodness.
say right away,
Hmm.
Um, and then I mentioned, and that's just, I was told that by a boss, a prior
That's
boss.
fantastic.
And I also try to use those few minutes to kind of fill in the unstated parts in your resume. You know, I think, I'm sorry, Crystal, was it?
Hmm.
Yeah. Talked about passion, and I want to make it clear. This is more than a job. It's a mission for me. I love doing this. And the breadth of how many things I've done, because I don't have a typical resume, I use that time to kind of fill that in.
I love that.
Does
One
that
of the
help?
challenges for me, I'll share, is that I have RBF, resting beaker face.
I do
Okay,
too.
I'm just going to tell you, if you look at me, I have on my website, my spirit animal is Beaker. He's got the same curve down.
Who's
He's got
Beaker?
the hair that
The
kind of
Muppet.
the Muppet, the orange-haired scientist Muppet who always gets blown up. Again. So my big thing was I got every time I did an interview, I just was not comfortable seeing myself answer the question, tell me about who you are. So this is the other thing, is getting used to being with the camera was part of the whole tell me about you to be
Mm.
able to sell yourself. The other thing is I find remarkably, no one's doing it now. I'm the only one I see myself doing it with. I talk with my hands a lot, but when I get on camera, I do this. Liz and I are doing the same thing.
Hmm.
I never do that in a real conversation. My hands never go near my face, but all of a sudden you put me on camera and I start to do this because of my
Mm.
resting beaker face. I'm pretty soon I'm like this. So that to me was always getting the comfortable, even with memorizing. The other question I was going to ask Crystal, she's still on, when she rehearses, does she rehearse in the format that she's going to apply? So not just in person, but having somebody else be on a Zoom call with them and rehearse that way. So you practice this. I was just curious because I'm finding that you can rehearse to yourself in your head in the car, and maybe just about as soon as you get on this box,
I
brain shuts down. It's just a big white Just
I
curious if any.
rehearse more with my peers because I'm a member of an executive roundtable. And so I don't take advantage of my peers who offer to help rehearse with me. But what I do is I will rehearse and record myself and then kind of play it back and see where my strengths are and my weaknesses. But I need to rehearse more with peers so that they could kind of play it back really quickly and give me the real time feedback.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, Kelly, you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
No worries, I just put it up. So, Liz, this kind of reminds me of I think it was one of the first meetings we had in the new year where Steve Woodruff was a
The memory
speaker.
darts. Yeah.
Yeah, and the memory darts. I feel like that would be a good tool
Well, so
if
that's what
outdoor
Mark and I were talking
individuals.
about, that memory darts was awesome, but it feels
It
like it's
was.
more of a networking environment thing, not necessarily something you would go into an interview with. It's like, well, I wanted to be a ballerina, but instead I like to design the stage. So
Yeah, I was
fun
thinking bits
for,
and pieces.
yeah,
Yeah, I was thinking bits
exactly.
and pieces of it though would be helpful.
Hmm.
That's kind of as I was looking through, I was like, oh, this
Hmm.
kind of is helpful.
Yeah,
But
I love that.
So my thing was here, and I appreciate everyone's time, is that perhaps maybe there to the next opportunity is to hold, if people are willing to do it, some time. I'm willing, if I'm available, willing to look at, being here and watching that opening. So hey, tell me about yourself, or maybe somebody throws a curveball in there and says, so what is it about the position that you like? And
Mm.
then just to practice some of that if anyone's interested. If not, or if it's just one person, it's great. I think that ultimately it's really, really difficult to find people willing to sit down who know what the hell they're doing to sit there and help you get better at what you're doing. Because never in a million years, I'll be honest, I do the age thing. I do everything wrong. I say the number of years that I've worked, and I say somewhere along the line I've alluded to that I'm 57, right? I always do that. I don't know why. And so the question becomes, I'm used to in-person interviewing, not phone and it's such a different skill set to
Hmm.
to hit.
Yeah. Do you want to have somebody want to volunteer to role play? Is that what you're hoping for?
No, I'm just saying, does that work for people? And if they
Hmm.
would, maybe we can come up and say somebody's willing to volunteer the next meeting to sit there and say, okay, for me, it was a little uncomfortable, to do it right out of the chute, but I kind of offered my thing and see if that works for people. So maybe they get a hold of you and then
Yeah.
you can put in the note, oh, by the way, we're going to do a little bit of round robin role playing there. We'll be respectfully critical
Mm.
of, of that opening and see where we might be able to enhance that experience for you just so that it's more comfortable.
Hmm. Or like I said, we can jump into breakout rooms right now and give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm happy to do it, but I don't know if we're losing people or not after
We
an
are,
hour.
but I booked it for an hour and a half if anybody could stay. So if you want to stay, we can spend 10 minutes in the breakout rooms and just give it a try, some practice, and then I can bring everyone back.
Right. Okay.
So
Or is there anyone here? I don't know, Crystal or Paul, if you're interested. I'm not trying to point people out. Anybody want to just do it here? I think we're down to just how
okay.
many people left?
Yeah, 8 of us.
Yeah. Anyone want to go?
Alexis, can we hear yours?
Sure.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so about me, I'm a strategist. I have experienced marketing events and planning events. So I am the person that you go to when you need to get things done. I have experience starting all the way back from college. And you might see a couple gaps in my resume, and that's where I tried other jobs and ended up trying to do event marketing in those jobs. So you'll see me try other things and then go back. But when it comes to this work, I am completely passionate about bringing people together and finding the right audience for the right event. That's kind of how I put it in there. And I ramble a lot, so I've been really trying to cut that down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have a tendency to do that. I all of a sudden think that I have to sell more of myself in that opening 60 seconds than I need to. So if I were to say there, if you can consolidate into your thinking, what is that opening of it that makes you completely unique to everyone else? Because I heard passionate, I heard college, I heard some things, but what I'm looking for me, I have the same problem. What's that hook thing that somebody's going to write down about you in that first 60 seconds that relates to their job? That's the other part of it. Because no, I can see that. I like the fact that you tried to put marketing into everything that you do, which, again, everybody's into sales, right? That's the number one thing, is we're all salespeople. So is there perhaps something in that opening that you can say that immediately gets someone's interest like that? Because again, every sentence builds to the next sentence to the next sentence for 60 seconds.
Mm.
But thank you for being brave. I love it.
Thank you.
That was great. Paul, you want to try?
Oh, okay. Uh, let's see. I'll start with power. I think that in all of my years of working on shows, working on conferences, working on events, the problem is fundamentally the same. Uh, People do not experience a lot of power in their lives. And the power structures that we do experience, that little modicum of power that we experience, are need to be reimagined, redistributed, changed somehow. So that's just a baseline mission. That's a test. If you're here to redistribute power, then we're going to get along just fine. Um, there are two current routes that people face: the strategic choice and what it means to redistribute power.
So
Most
wait,
of what it means,
this is your tell me about yourself?
I mean, this is what I'm thinking. I don't know if I could do the memory darts thing. I always wanted to be an actor, but now I just help people find their light, and that's the 10 seconds, right? So I tried it. I liked it. The interviewers liked it. Didn't work. So I don't know. A lot of the experience design stuff that I'm studying right now is about getting to the phase zero of what the actual vocation is, what I actually believe in. So to continue that, most of the time we think about going to market as a way to experience power. We feel powerful because we can be merchants and buy and sell and feel and be present for things. I would like to offer an alternative that we feel powerful by connecting to our communities and our history. Uh, and those are the kinds of that's the kind of power redistribution that I would like to be a part of. So
So, Paul, I will
that's
tell you, what you're talking about is much more of a personal philosophy, and I admire that. But when you're looking at that 60 seconds, is think about it in this sense. If I'm going to pay you 90 grand, why should I pay you 90 grand in that first sentence, right? That's the thing about it, is that in my performances as X, Y, and Z, that relate to the job, that, and then ultimately you're looking at the personal philosophy is going to bleed into that. But for me, looking at it, is there an opportunity to look at that? Tell me about yourself has nothing to do with you personally. It's much more about your professional experience.
Well, it's just tough because then that framing means is that I need to make you money, right? I need to make you money, right?
Yes.
And ultimately, my experience with events is I prevent you from losing a lot of money. It's not that I make you money, is that you are going to lose a lot of money. So you came to me because your house is on fire, and I will help your house be less on fire. So I don't know if I make you money, but I definitely prevent you from hemorrhaging lots of money. So I'm definitely, when it comes to my position in events and the way that I show up in events, the timing of when I show up to events, I am your crisis guy. There's a big mess up, and I'm here to help you clean it up.
Hmm.
Well, then you start to talk about your experience in ROI, troubleshooting, problem solving. Those are the things that it sounds like that you're actively involved with. So framing it around, you spent your career helping companies with problem solving, ROI, last minute house on fire sort of things.
Yeah, but are you in experiential design or are you in come in because there's a plan in place that needs to be executed more thoughtfully than it was already being executed?
I would love to be early on in the process. I have never found that in my career. I always
Mhm.
come in at the last 2 months, someone hands over the keys and says good luck, and then we get to the end. That's really
Okay.
been uh that's really been my experience with AIGA and with UN. I suppose that's another thing that I should mention is that it's probably helpful to say that I'm industry specific. I don't like bringing it up because I don't want to work in nonprofits anymore,
Yeah.
but a lot of my experience is in nonprofits.
Okay.
And if you want to talk about associations that never have enough resources, that never have enough planning, that never have enough anything,
Right.
even at the highest levels, even at UN levels, they don't have anything.
Sure.
Um, that's been that's been, the reality of my career. So in terms of measuring ROI, I usually don't have the luxury of measuring ROI. There isn't enough time to plan strategically. I come in too late, is
And
what I'm saying. So if I
do
were
you
to
like
look,
doing that? Do you like being the dive and catch guy, or you want to be the person who's in there planning from the beginning now?
oh, I would love to be there from the beginning.
Okay.
Absolutely. I feel like that's always the conversation with design, isn't it? Is that the chip on our shoulders is that we never feel like we have an actual seat at the table. Please give us
Mm-hmm.
a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with getting a seat at the table is just because you get a seat doesn't mean that you actually get to say anything. So,
Right.
um, so that's yeah, in terms of speaking business, I mean, I could write a line, I suppose, of like, I made this much money, we got this many people, there was this conversion rate. Like, I
But I
could,
don't even think it's so much that. I think, hearing your philosophy on redistribution of power actually just says to me that you're about me is more like my entire background has been as an event firefighter. I am brought in to execute events that have been someone else's design, and where I thrive is to be part of the design. So the role I'm looking for is to move out of nonprofit and into corporate, where I can be in the beginning of creating an experience and not at the end of fixing one.
And that's a massively compelling opening statement about you. There it is. Liz, congratulations.
Did you hire me, Mark?
I hired you right away because exactly what it is. Paul's a firefighter and he'd like to be at the front end of it. And that's the business sell to sit there and say, I come in as a troubleshooter firefighter and I'd love to work in an organization where I could be at the beginning of the process, da 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 da.
I'm
And
ready to
that's
be
an
the city
ex-
planner, not the firefighter.
and that's an exceptional way of telling me about yourself.
I mean, but low key though, like, would anyone actually give me that chance? There's nothing on paper that would say that I could do this.
Well, explain that a little more. Why? Why do you think that?
I've never done it. I don't know. Like, I've never done it. I mean, so a lot of what I've been interviewing for recently would be like experience strategy, experience consultant roles, and the questioning line that I get in the interviews, the thing that I think happens is that when they start asking for specific things they need, in
Hmm.
in spite of all of my attempts to spin and be like, well, I didn't quite do that, but I did this.
Hmm.
Nah, you know, like the job market is robust enough where if they're looking
Brutal.
for the exact amount of combinations and experience literally to match a keyword, they can find it. And I
Yeah.
don't and that's the thing where I'm reluctant because I'll say in this about me, which is gorgeous, right? That I would like to change what I'm about. And
Hmm.
I just don't know if I can.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm very much like if I'm the firefighter, then I'm the firefighter, and maybe I just need to own it.
Yeah, but if you hate it, that's going to suck for you.
How about
Yeah.
Hannah?
Okay,
Hello.
we'll think about it, Paul. I'll think about it.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
my thing is, again, to Paul, your point is the job environment I have found is it's not a unicorn, it's a purple unicorn.
Right.
It's now you've gotten to the point where it's a super specific unicorn. You no longer can be a unicorn. You have to be a specific color of unicorn. It's a
Hmm.
crazy environment for sure. So
Yeah.
I respect and appreciate, and I understand the frustration of I can do that. But, anyways, so Hannah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I think well, just to wrap up on Paul, I think that the step is you are a logistics ninja, even though you're not going to say that on your LinkedIn because you have been able to do the diving catch and save things. And so I think as you're looking for roles, looking for the company that will allow you to come in at that logistics level, but has opportunity to move you into something else so that you can start taking on work streams, start taking on projects where you are in from the beginning. So, yes, for right now, maybe you're still taking on a role where someone else has set the strategy and you're setting the execution. But that's not a forever position. That's a work to the next one because you now get given those opportunities. So now I know what you're looking for. I can continue to look for those roles.
I appreciate the opportunity to have a platform. I know it's hard for everybody. It's thank you for helping me get that off my chest.
Of course. Thanks for being here, Hannah.
I can just improvise one based
Okay.
on the structure that you told me. Hmm. Okay. Tell
Tell
me
me
about
about yourself.
I am an event producer based in New York. I have just over 7 years of experience. And despite the wide breadth of the types of events I've worked in, the through line that keeps me going is community building. I've done tasting dinners that are quite intimate for 50 people. I've done fundraisers for hundreds of folks, but it's all about building relationships with the people who come to your events and building that reputation for your organization or brand. I'm really looking to step into a full-time role that will allow my strengths as a communicator, as a team player, as a relationship builder to strengthen the work of a company who has a variety of clients. And I think that my diverse skill set and my gift of connecting with people will really serve your agency. And I look forward to seeing how my skills could transfer. Maybe that was a bit long.
It's a great improvisation. I'll give you that. You know, the thing that again concern that I was told don't talk about the number of years, right? There's math that gets behind the scenes. So you can
Okay.
talk about extensive experience.
Okay.
Um, the other thing is that is there a way to put a hook, and every one of them is different. Is there a way to put a hook around the company you're reaching out to of how you are a problem solver in looking at that company and maybe figuring out a way to relate that hook of what are you going to solve for them that based on your research that might be different and more interesting. It may not be right, it's okay, but at least it shows thought leadership that you went out and did that, right? You're an experiential person who creates events for problem solving and the opportunity to find within that company a hook within, let's say it's XYZ company. That's again, rather than generic, go something that's specific in it where you can find out whether they do anything, a DEI or along that line, or whether they're looking at it from they're a for profit that does something else. If that's figure out a way to hook that in your research to help elevate, because it's a great start. It's just to elevate that
And I think for
open.
me, we went really far into the loving the community building and loving those things, and very few
Mhm.
agencies have that as what your job would be. So we're trying to figure out if you're an event producer, so is it someone else's community and you're creating an environment in the room to ensure that that gets built, and then now you're on to the next event, or are you looking for a place where you're part of the community building and the events you're doing, you are
Mhm.
that face of community, and so just really understanding what event producer means for me.
Okay.
Which one is it for you? Just not asking. Do you want to be at an agency where they have the community and you're executing their events and you kind of get to be the face of it? You're the event person and the community person, or are you at an agency that you're executing other people's communities?
Well, I would like to be at an agency that has a variety of clients. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I would kind of be stepping in to service whatever the project, the people
Okay,
that.
so what I hear is, I'm based in New York. I can travel. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to be in an office or hybrid, or what's your feel?
Hybrid office. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm an event producer. I'm based in New York. Would love to hang out at an office with some people that I can actually see face to face, but absolutely love being remote too and can totally travel. I love producing those micro events that bring people together for community conversation and an experience. And I am very adept at being the person who is the host in the room. So not only can I do the full logistics of the event, but be on site and host as well. Doing this for a large variety of clients, it allows me to have variety in the types of experiences that we're creating is exactly what I'm looking for.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Does that
And I
sound
see
right?
that at your company, you specialize in, there's your hook, right,
Yeah, there you
Liz?
go. Yeah.
They're taking on what Liz is saying is find what they have, like find an event that they do that you can sit there and say, yeah. And I would love to be able, based on your event at the X thing, I'd love to do that. So find that. That's the hook.
Yeah, it looks like
Liz,
you have the Adobe Creative Conclaves, which seems like a really cool program to be involved in, but also the pharma companies that you work with and their executive events. It's a completely different vibe, and I absolutely love having those types of opportunities.
yeah.
Mm,
And that's a great challenge for me to be able to take my skill set blah and nail it. There you go.
got it. Thank you.
Oh, you're
And
great. I'm excited to find you a job and Paul a job and Mark a job. You guys are
I'm the
all
last one. She's like, yeah, Mark, and that's all right. No, I'm just kidding.
well, I have this vision that Mark and I are going to do this whole project together. I just don't know how to fund it yet, and he doesn't know what it is yet.
Yeah. And you can fund on personality alone. I know Tim Robbins, that's for sure. Is there anybody else on the
Nope, it's just the four of
line?
us now.
Well, thank you,
All
Mark.
right.
I really
Well,
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for running this, Mark. This was
well,
fantastic.
Thank you both.
I
All right, I'm
appreciate
with it.
everybody. Again, I'm happy to do this anytime that I'm available for this and we can talk about it, after, like, hey, look, we got a couple extra minutes. This is the thing. Come prepared just to see.
Yeah.
Because I like to think of it at any given moment, at least in my thing, is that you have got to have that 60 seconds at any given moment where you sit there and go, well, I'm going to improvise. It's like, no, it's just part of my DNA now every
Mm.
single day is to talk about my 60 seconds.
Learn to speak in sound bites.
Yes, this is an elevator pitch. And if you want to get to the top floor, you don't want them to push the button. There's another cliche thing, right? You just want to make sure that they're not looking to push the button. If you can start it with an opening that allows, oh, okay, we're going to go to the floor, because that's what they're looking to do, is to figure out a way to weed people out. And you want to make it to the top. And I'm clearly not great at it because I'm still here, right?
I
Still
don't
looking
think
at
that you
something.
can blame your answer on the question to the, not, I think that the right thing's coming for all of us. This is it.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.